Assassin's Creed III is a 2012 action-adventure video game developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii U, and Microsoft Windows. It is the fifth major installment in the Assassin's Creed series, and a direct sequel to 2011's Assassin's Creed Revelations. The game was released worldwide for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, beginning in North America on October 30, 2012, with a Wii U and Microsoft Windows release following in November 2012. The plot is set in a fictional history of real-world events and follows the centuries-old struggle between the assassins, who fight for peace with free will, and the Templars, who desire peace through control. The framing story is set in the 21st century and features series protagonist Desmond Miles who, with the aid of a machine known as the Animus, relives the memories of his ancestors to find a way to avert the 2012 apocalypse. The story is set in the 18th century, before, during and after the American Revolution from 1754 to 1783, and follows Desmond's half-English, half-Mohawk ancestor, Rattan Tun, also known as Connor, as he fights the Templars' attempts to gain freedom in the colonies. Assassin's Creed III is set in an open world and presented from the third-person perspective with a primary focus on using Desmond and Connor's combat and stealth abilities to eliminate targets and explore the environment. Contrabar is able to freely explore 18th-century Boston, New York City, and the American frontier to complete side missions away from the primary storyline. The game also features a multiplayer component, allowing players to compete online to complete solo and team-based objectives including assassinations and evading pursuers. Ubisoft developed a new game engine, Anvil Next, for the game. The game received positive reviews from critics and was a massive commercial success, selling more than 12 million copies worldwide. Its sequel, Assassin's Creed V: Black Flag, was released in October 2013, and follows Rattan Tun's grandfather, Edward Kenway, a pirate and assassin operating in the Caribbean during the golden age of piracy. Gameplay. Assassin's Creed III is a third-person action-adventure title set in an open world in which the player uses a combination of stealth, parkour, and combat to complete various missions. The player takes the role of three characters during the course of the game. The main character is Desmond Miles, a 21st-century assassin, working to uncover the secrets of a mysterious precursor vault that purportedly will protect the Earth from an upcoming solar flare on December 21, 2012. To uncover the secrets, Desmond uses the Animus to live out memories of two of his ancestors which the player controls during these sequences, both set at the time of the American Revolutionary War. The first, briefly played at the start of the game, is Haytham Kenway, a British Templar who seeks the location of the vault. The second, and the primary character for the game, is Rattan Tun, the result of a brief liaison between Kenway and a Native American woman. Rattan Tun takes on the name Connor to blend in better with colonial society. When playing as Connor, the player has access to a huge wilderness known as the Frontier, the cities of Boston and New York. Portions of the eastern seaboard and Caribbean Sea can be explored via the flagship of the Assassin's Navy, the Aquila, captained by Connor Kenway himself, with Robert Faulkner, his first mate, advising and teaching him in the ways of the sea. Free running has been simplified to allow for more fluid parkour in the cities and wilderness, such as climbing and running on trees, mountains, cliffs, etc. Close combat has been modified, allowing Connor to dual-wield weapons and take down multiple opponents at once, and players no longer need to manage the lock-on mechanic. Aiding this, Connor has access to a wide range of weapons which include muskets, pistols, native weapons such as the tomahawk and bow and arrow, a rope dart, as well as the hidden blades. In addition, the left hidden blade has a folding mechanism for blocking attacks, skinning an animal, and performing high-profile assassinations. Human shields can be used against firing lines of enemies. Medicine is no longer used as health recovers automatically. Stealth is also revamped, allowing players to use natural elements such as tall grass and trees to hide, along with the ability to blend between any two people. Assassin's Creed 3 features new weather simulations such as snow, fog, and rain. The seasons can also change, i.e., summer and winter, which not only affect visuals but also gameplay, as the player will find that they run slower in deep snow. Snowfall can reduce visibility for the player and enemies, aiding stealth. Unlike the past games, this one includes animals varying from domestic to wild. The wild ones are found in the frontier, and can be hunted for meat or marrow in order to be sold. The quality of the kill determines the price, encouraging the player to hunt silently. For this, traps and bait can also be used. Economy is now based on the Davenport homestead, which also acts as Connor's adoptive home. The site can be visited by people such as carpenters, tailors, etc., suffering from displacement due to the war. Helping and interacting with these non-player characters will encourage them to settle in the homestead. From there on, the player can craft various items and trade with them, and then sell the goods to the cities via caravan. The player can also help them build relationships with each other, which will then result in the formation of a small village. The player can also upgrade the homestead manor as well as Connor's ship, the Aquila. A revamped version of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood's recruitment feature returns, as players can enlist citizens to the Assassin's cause by completing liberation missions. They also have a much larger skill set, which allows them to start a riot, provide a covert escort, act as a personal bodyguard, etc. Other side missions include collecting almanac pages, exploring underground tunnels to locate fast travel stations, joining hunting and fighting clubs, investigating frontiersmen rumors about UFOs and Sasquatch. Peg-leg missions in which Connor goes to underground forts and wastelands to uncover the legend of Captain Kidd's treasure, and others. Assassin's Creed 3 also features naval expeditions. Using Connor's warship, the Aquila, the player can navigate the high seas. Control of the ship relies on environmental factors such as wind direction and speed, local presence of storms, high waves, and rocks. Engagements are by cannon, with broadsides covering both flanks of the ship, swivel guns that can be used to damage smaller ships which can also be boarded to find treasure, and chain shots from the broadsides as well to take down the masts of larger ships and disable them. The Aquila is used in the side missions known as privateer missions, and is also used in some of the main missions. The Wii U version of the game has extra features. The player has the ability to change weapons on the go, and the map is always visible on the Wii U gamepad. The Wii U version also supports off-TV play. With this feature enabled, the main screen is redirected to the Wii U gamepad. Online multiplayer returns in this installment by Ubisoft Annecy. Along with returning modes, new ones feature a cooperative mode named Wolfpack, in which 1 to 4 players are charged with killing certain NPCs within a time limit, through a sequence of 25 stages. It also features Domination, a team mode where players will have to capture certain areas of the map, protecting them from the opposing team. Synopsis. Setting following the events of Assassin's Creed Revelations series, protagonist Desmond Miles and his assassin allies have traveled to the Grand Temple of those who came before, an ancient race of powerful beings who created humankind before a global calamity thousands of years before the events of the game made them almost extinct and ravaged the earth. To find the key to activate the temple and prevent the imminent recurrence of the global disaster in 2012, Desmond uses the Animus to explore the life of his 18th-century ancestor in colonial America during the American Revolution, a half-English, half-Mohawk man named Ratton Tun, also known as Connor, whose father is Grand Master of the Templar Order in the colonies. Contrabar is caught up in the Assassins' conflict with the Templar Order when his Native American village is attacked by the Templars, who intend to seize control of the newly forming country. Connor's story spans through 2 decades of his life, from his childhood in 1760 to 1783. Boston and New York City are cities that can be explored, as well as the American colonial frontier, spanning forest, cliffs, rivers, Conchabar's Mohawk Village, and the settlements of Lexington and Concord. The player can hunt small and large animals, and approximately 1/3 of the story takes place in the frontier. The city of Philadelphia can also be visited at one point during the game, as can the Caribbean during several naval missions. The entire eastern seaboard is also explorable via Connor's captaining his naval warship, the Aquila. Characters: Assassin's Creed 3 features a large cast of characters. The main character is Rattan Tun, also known as Connor, an 18th-century assassin, and his 21st-century descendant Desmond Miles. The modern-day characters also include Desmond's father William Miles, and assassins Sean Hastings and Rebecca Crane, and the Templars Daniel Cross and Warren Vidic, the creator of the Animus. The 18th-century characters include Achilles Davenport, Conchabar's mentor and a retired assassin, Connor's mother Kanyete Iozio, Conchabar's first mate aboard the Aquila Robert Faulkner, and the French taverner Stéphane Chaffo. The colonial Templars are led by Connor's father, the English nobleman Haytham Kenway. He is aided by several historical figures who are portrayed as members of the Templar Order, including Charles Lee, Thomas Hickey, John Pitcairn, Benjamin Church, William Johnson, and Nicholas Biddle. The era also features several other historical figures such as Israel Putnam, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Mason Weems, Paul Revere, Edward Braddock, and Samuel Adams. Other characters include Minerva and Juno, members of those who came before, and the Grand Master of the 18th-century Templar Order in England, Reginald Birch. Plot: Desmond, William, Rebecca, and Sean find the temple in a cave in New York and access it using their Apple of Eden. After partially activating the temple, Juno uses it to communicate with Desmond. Desmond is placed in the Animus, where Juno's influence causes him to experience the life of his ancestor in 1754 England. The Templar Grand Master, Haytham Kenway. Haytham assassinates a patron at the Royal Opera House and steals a medallion, the key to the temple's inner chamber. Haytham is dispatched to the American colonies to locate the temple. While in Boston, he kills a slave trader, freeing a group of Mohawks including a woman named Kanyete Io. She helps Haytham find the temple in exchange for him killing General Braddock. Haytham and Kanyete Io find that the key is not able to open the temple itself. The pair develop a romantic relationship during their time together, which results in a son, Rattan Tun. The perspective then shifts to Rattan Tun's childhood in 1760. His mother dies during an attack on his village which Rattan Tun believes was led by the Templar Charles Lee. Years later, the village elder informs a teenage Rattan Tun that their tribe's duty is to prevent the temple's discovery. The elder gives him a transparent sphere which allows Juno to communicate with him. She tells him of his importance and shows him the assassin's symbol. The symbol leads him to the retired assassin Achilles Davenport, who reluctantly begins training him as an assassin. Achilles suggests Rattan Tun rename himself Connor to enable him to move more freely throughout the colonies, in fear that some colonists might reject him as a tribe member. While seeking supplies in Boston, Connor is framed by the Templars for instigating the Boston Massacre. Over the following years, Connor kills several Templars, and aids in the Revolutionary War between the Patriots and the British. Conchabar meets with his father, and the two forge a temporary alliance to eliminate a rogue Templar. Later, Haytham uncovers a letter detailing George Washington's plan to remove the indigenous population, including Connor's tribe, from the frontier to prevent him supporting the Loyalists. Connor returns to his village and learns that Lee has recruited several Mohawk warriors to turn back the Patriots sent to eradicate them. Conchobar neutralizes the warriors to avoid conflict, but his childhood friend can't. Con cannot be reasoned with, and Connor is forced to kill him. Meanwhile, Desmond is occasionally roused from the animus to retrieve power cells from Manhattan and Brazil, necessary for activating the temple. Before the Templar Daniel Cross can take them, William goes after the final cell himself, but is captured by the Templars' modern-day front, Abstergo. Desmond assaults the facility, kills Cross and Warren Vidich, and rescues his father. Conchobar becomes conflicted about eliminating the Templars, and hopes to work with Haytham towards a common vision of peace and freedom. However, Haytham remains convinced of the chaos of freedom and the necessity to control the nation by replacing Washington with Lee. Lee is disgraced by Washington for attempting to sabotage the outcome of a battle and takes refuge in the heavily fortified Fort George. Conchobar infiltrates the fort and is confronted by Haytham. They duel, and Connor kills him. Connor later kills Lee and recovers the key. With the Colonial Templars eliminated, Connor returns to his village only to find it empty, and the sphere left behind. Using it, Juno instructs him to conceal the key where it cannot be found. Connor buries the key in the grave of a killer's son, Connor Davenport. In 2012, Desmond retrieves the key and accesses the temple's inner chambers. Juno informs him that activating the pedestal will save the world, but at the cost of his life. Minerva appears before them, opposing the plan as it will free Juno, who was sealed away in the temple to prevent her conquering humanity. Juno and Minerva explain that if the solar flare occurs, Desmond will be one of the few survivors in a post-apocalyptic world. After Desmond's later death, he will become revered as a god, whose well-intended legacy will be manipulated to control future generations. Restarting the cycle, Desmond chooses to sacrifice himself in order to save humanity and give them the opportunity to fight Juno rather than be destroyed. William, Sean, and Rebecca leave the temple as Desmond activates the pedestal. A global aurora protects the planet from the solar eruption. Juno commends Desmond's choice and declares that it is time for her part to begin. In an epilogue, Connor takes down the Templar portraits in the Davenport Manor's basement and burns them, signifying the end of his journey. In addition, his return to his village is detailed further, showing he spoke to a hunter there, who revealed that the land had been sold to settlers in order to settle the new United States government's war debts. Conchobar also travels to the pier in New York, where he witnesses the last of the British regulars leave America for good. However, he also sees evidence of the slave trade present in the newly formed nation. Right next to the pier of citizens cheering at the departure of the British, learning that not all people have been freed. Following this, a modern-day voiceover can be heard directing the listener to locate a number of pivot points that have been spread out across the memories. Graphical representation of the colonial America. Once collected, the voiceover returns to congratulate, and informs that they have now connected to the cloud.